Should Breeze topic number 4 is what is fear? This came with a link. It takes us to YouTube. We'll watch the video, then we'll discuss it as always.
A lot we get into that fear, right? That finally exiting average reality is what I call fear. There's people who are anchored to their average reality, their average knowing, their average living conditions. For me, in order to be amazing at something, to be great at something, to accomplish great things, even when there's fear, you must embrace the unknown. What happens is a lot of people need guidance, and that can help you so far, but then there's moments where you got to just go alone. Anchored to that fear, right? That finally exiting average reality is what I call fear. There's people who are anchored to their average reality, their average knowing, their average living conditions. For me, in order to be amazing at something, to be great at something, to accomplish great things, even when there's fear, you must embrace the unknown. What happens is a lot of people need guidance, and that can help you so far, but then there's moments where you got to just go alone.
Sorry, I had a problem finding the damn mute button. Trigabi 262 says smooth transition. So what is fear? I guess in many ways you guys can answer this personally. What is fear to you, right? But also you can respond to what the brother was saying in the video. Let me start with Jose. Jose, what is fear? Is Jose there? Unmute your mic if you're there.
Yeah, I'm here. Let me also run to while I'll speak. Fear. Yeah, fear is like a religion. It's a belief. Fear. We for some reason we learn to fear death, and and that's the root of all other fears.
Oh, okay, Jose. Thanks for that. Let's hear from let's make sure our brother Kyle isn't electrocuted. Let's hear from Kyle.
I'm still here. Thank you so much for checking in on me.
I was praying for you. Go ahead.
We got it working now. We got it working. But fear is just a hesitation of the unknown. Many times people aren't aware of things. They're apprehensive, and fear serves a very important evolutionary function. People were, prehistoric time, people were fearful of predators. Fear is normal. It's natural. It can be helpful sometimes, but but in some cases it has to be overcome. I think Dr. Francis Cress Welsing talked about how black people are afraid of white people, and I think they're afraid with good reason because these people are savages. They're murderers. They're killers. They kill our children. They kill our women. They kill everybody. So Dr. Wilson talked about how black people are sometimes paralyzed by fear, especially when confronting white people. Just the very idea of going and fighting them paralyzes with fear. But we're going to have to get over that fear, and that's something she talked about in the ISIS papers. But sometimes people have irrational fears, phobias. I had a phobia when I was a child. I had a phobia of birds because my stepdad had chickens and used to make me feed them, and they would attack me. So I had to get over that. That was something I had to confront myself to get past that fear. But yeah, fear is something that it exists and it does have its place, but we can't let that stop us. To his point, I don't know what he's referring to. Um, I don't know. He kind of sounds like that. I don't know. Maybe I might be listening to it wrong. It kind of strikes me as you can't be afraid of your living conditions, and you don't want to improve because you're afraid. I don't know what he's talking about there, but yeah, fear is something it's normal. People have it, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But we have to decide which fear is rational, which fears are irrational, and how do we overcome those fears. I think that's a healthy attitude to have in some cases. I'll leave it there.
Thank you, Carl. Let's hear from Tanzan. Tanzan, what's it?
Well, I guess you know, um, fear is natural. It's normal. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a way to preserve yourself and to avoid danger. In some measure, it's okay. But the problem is when, you put one fear and you know that a bigger fear is coming. You know that, for example, that you don't want to, let's say, I don't know, change your brakes, but the bigger fear is that your brakes might fail, so you might as well just do it. So it's, yeah, I get his point, but it's not so easy to just get over fear. I think that's the flippant part of it. Is it's not just say, okay, so I recognize there are a lot of things to be fearful about, real or imagined, but you have to have a kind of firstly a reason to overcome that fear, because the natural human instinct is to avoid fearful situations, to avoid unpleasant situations. And that's why we have fear, because you fear something that is going to jeopardize your life. So the natural instinct is to avoid it and to you can get away from it. The only time that fighting, makes sense of natural flight is if your life is actually in danger, so and that flight won't help. But the first instinct is to just to leave it alone. So, fear is a natural thing. That's why even in the military training, it's not just about building your physical, strength and so on. You have to be mentally prepared for actual, for something that is a natural for you, being under constant fear. And you know when people don't think about the emotional aspect of it, this is when fear overtakes the mind. Because you look at even people who soldiers who come from the army, is yeah, some of them have physical scars, physical injuries and so on, but it's not those people can overcome physical disabilities, but it's the mental one. It's the post PTSD, where they call it that now. It just used to be called shell shock. But it's that experience, going on in the mind. The mind does not heal, in the same way as the body does. So, fear is that aspect that keeps you, going in that same mode. Irrational fear is when you still fear something even when there's no reason to fear it. So, yes, it's good to be afraid of snakes, but imagine if you're just afraid of, snakes everywhere, even when you had no reason for you to think that there was a snake. So that's the part where one can be paralyzed by it. But the natural part of it is good, it's rational. You should stay away from danger. And I think we are the most rational people. We don't go looking for, for crazy things. We don't. I don't see us, having the well, some people do, but not in general. They wish to jump off a build. Well, unless you're just going to do it, but to jump off a building for fun, yeah, or do things like that, because there's a natural healthy fear and a respect for life also. Yeah, I'll leave it at that.
All right, thank you for that, Tan. Let's hear from Buana. Buana, what say you?
Uh, I think that in explaining what fair to me is just a trepidation, from embracing the unknown. But in looking at that, I think that many of our people are risk averse, and because we are risk averse, we don't take risk, so we don't read the rewards of
Yes, sir.
the
Yes, sir.
risks we take, and I was listening to a brother named, well, not a brother, but a man named Brian Tracy. He said that um, if you do the thing that you fear the most, the death of fear is certain. And I think that many of our people need to embrace that concept. For instance, you know, even though Tan talked about us having trepidation in terms of fear, Tan jumped on a rocket, called a plane from Kenya to get better opportunities to the other side of the world in California. Koku jumped on a plane from a very small island in the Caribbean to go to a city with 8 million people in it. Now, I'm sure in doing things like that, there were extreme ideas of fear because they didn't see, they never lived in that kind of a large city before, large, complicated, complex environment before. But they was able to do the thing that they may have feared, and in doing that, there were opportunities at the other side of that scenario, which may not necessarily they may not it may not have been necessarily available in an environment that they existed in. So I think that sometimes you have to take reasonable risks. Sometimes I would say sometimes you have to take unreasonable risks. You know what I mean? But that's just me. But sometimes you must take risk in life because nothing is certain. And I think that we get so used to the comfort of normal. You know what I mean? We never embrace this idea of fear and take the risk and taking chances. In embracing fear, you learn certain things from that scenario. You learn about yourself. You know, you are able to develop a degree of confidence in yourself. Because if you do it once, you can do it again. Eh? You know, and I think that many of our people are very comfortable, even though we're in an environment that is very uncomfortable. You know, many slaves on the plantation, they wouldn't leave out of fear because they was getting 3 square meals a day. They was getting a house, well, what you could call a house. They had clothes and things like that. So why leave the plantation when we getting all the things we need for our existence and subsistence? Yeah, but if in embracing the fear of freedom, you know, you have the responsibility of providing all these things for yourself. So they rather sit in enslavement rather than embracing the unknown. And the other side of that unknown is really actualizing yourself as a human being on this planet. You know what I mean? So I think that some of our people need to embrace fear and become uncomfortable sometimes. Too much of our people who too comfortable. Do something that can make you uncomfortable. Maybe on the other side of that, you may experience something that is more beneficial for yourself, and maybe you may learn more things about yourself in embracing what paralyzes you from doing certain things. So I don't necessarily think fear is a bad thing. Yes, historically we was fearful of predators, so it kind of like keep us alive, that fear instinct that we had. But I don't think that all fear is necessarily bad. I think that some fears that we have, we should do the things that we fear the most so we could kill fear. Kill fear. You know what I mean? Let it become a practice that yes, we're afraid, but we still step forward. Because I believe on the other side of that may be something that may be beneficial for us going forward. And our people too comfortable. But I'll leave it there.
By the way, Buana also he mentioned me in time, but he also stepped out he stepped out big too. As he mentioned.
Don't talk my business. Don't talk my business.
he lived in New York and in Europe and all that stuff. So he overcame his fears too. Hold on one second. Yeah.
I'm having trouble accessing the phone.
Damn, that cupcaking?
No, I got this shit talking in the back here. I had asked a question in the chat. Trigger Happy responded to it. My question is: there a unique African view of fear? I'm always interested in unique African views. That, you know, that's different from what we are bombarded with all the time. Trigger said the only thing he could think of is African rites of passage's unique approach of preparing for life. And building that up is how people deal with fear. Jagan Mulu says it starts with the fear of death, like Jose Bronze stated. Once you conquer that, everything else is simple. That's a great point. You know, I meant to say that too when Jose said it. That the fear of death I think is the biggest thing that holds us back. In fact, that's why we adhere to all these foreign religions and whatnot. Trigapi 262 says, even the idea of preparing for ancestorhood makes us understand that death is inevitable. So building a good life makes death a natural cycle. Thank you all for that. And I'm going to leave Tezzy for the last because I want to hear his perspective, his African perspective on what is fear. So with that said, let's go to Oni. Oni would say to this.
Yeah. So yeah, like fear is, you know, like most things, obviously, social construct, obviously. In the sense of we are conditioned to be afraid.
Wait, you
You
don't
know?
think fear is biological?
I mean, no, I mean obviously it's a biological aspect to it, but a lot of things that we're afraid of, obviously there's hormones and so on and so forth, but a lot of things that we're afraid of is socially conditioned, and so the example that I would use is like my son, because that's what I like about being an active father is that you get to watch, your child and the pedagogy and all that kind of stuff, right? And so this guy would just punch me. You know what I mean? Like he would punch me or he would push me or something along those lines, right? And you come again?
Elder abuse, but go ahead.
Yeah, I know, right? But like, like jackass or something, right? But like, the thing is that he doesn't like. Obviously, he is not socialized to think, "Oh yeah, this person's 10 times my size, and I shouldn't try to attack them." He just, he's not socialized to think that. However, we, like for instance, if Rihanna is somewhere, right? Not too many of us are, not too many men generally are just going to go and try to shoot their shot. You know what I mean? The fear of approaching Rihanna is not, it's just something that we as a society kind of like acculturate ourselves to be fearful of, whereas Rihanna is just a human being. I'm just a human being. We're not necessarily unequal in terms of humanity, but it's just kind of like I'm not gonna approach that lady. Like, oh no, she's gonna like spit on me or some shit. Not obviously not spit on you, but still, that kind of a fear right there is the construct. Now, obviously, there's like a scientific hormonal, obviously, but us imagining, like imagining something that's not necessarily real per se, that like for instance Rihanna is going to like not entertain you, not give you the time of day, right? Or even try to play you, right? That might not necessarily be the case, but that's a thing that like a lot of people in the West deal with. So like was spoken about the bar situation, you go to a bar and you see a pretty woman and you're like, should I go talk to her or something like that? Whereas if somebody isn't socialized in the in the local custom, right? Or like for instance, like I said with my own son, right? He could just walk up to anybody. Now, granted, he's not flirting with anybody, but if you're not socialized to be fearful of other people and how they can engage you and how they can interact with you, right? You're not limited. So a lot of what we are fearful of is, in a sense, our own imagination, and not necessarily, or and of course, what we believe to be our experiences or the experiences of others, and things like that. So I guess I'll just leave it at that, though.
Appreciate it. So, Tezzy, I left you for last. I stated why. If you're there, I hope you're there. What is fear, and is there a unique African perspective on fear? Is Tezzy there? I hope I'm not just talking to myself.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Tezzy, go
So
ahead.
yeah, okay. I don't know if there is a unique African, or there's I don't think there's a unified African perspective of fear. I think different cultures have different ways of dealing with fear. Like I think somebody mentioned the initiation processes and stuff like that. I think one of the things that I saw, like the Maasai, uh, one of the most popular tribes in Africa. You find that one of the things that made you a man was killing a lion. Like, literally just going out to hunt a lion. So another thing was, according to maybe one of the Western Kenya, the Luya tribe. I think one of them is the initiation ceremony, where literally As a man, your foreskin is cut, like they're cutting your foreskin in public. You have some. I don't. I think they apply mud on your hair, on your body, and literally somebody with a knife chopping off your, and you have to, and you're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to shed a tear. You're not supposed to make a sound. You're just supposed to be silent while somebody chops part of your penis in front of a wild crowd, a big crowd. So I think these are things that I think are supposed to give you some sort of boost in confidence that like nothing, these things cannot be taken away from you. Like nobody can take away what you went through to become or to be called a man. So yeah, I think one of those things. So one of those, I think that's a way of conditioning, as Oni just said, of like just removing fear from your psyche. But also another perspective, that this is my personal perspective, is that fear is something that you have to give. It's a normal. It's something that comes to everybody, but I feel like whether it's rational or not is now up to your own judgment. Like because sometimes sometimes you cannot help it. You're in a situation where fear come. You're going to have to feel fear, even if it's for a second or two. It's going to come to you. So when you have that judging, that's when now your judgment comes in. Like, should I be afraid, or should you not be afraid, or should calm yourself down and master yourself? So yeah, in the end of the day, it's an impression that comes to all human beings. Whether you give assent to it or not is now it's a personal experience. Yeah, I will the mic. Hello.
All right. Thank you for that, Tezzy. I think I got everyone in that one, right? I'll have to tell you, I would have, like Buana said in the background, I would have failed. I would have failed that test with cutting the penises and whatnot. If there's no other last words there, let me
I'll
drop
say
some
one
people.
thing before we go, and it's just off the top of my head. When you ask the question about the African fear, I think that we Africans, we are more afraid of other people than we are of each other. There's an echo.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so this is why there was a fear of what's of witchcraft and magic and all those things, because it was not so much the fear of God. Well, the fear of God was really just justice, because if you had a sense of justice towards other people, you would swear and so on, and then if you had if you did right, then things would go your way. But it was also the fear of the power of other men, other human beings, and also the respect for life. So we feared somebody harming you, somebody looking at you with a bad eye, somebody casting a spell on you, somebody doing something to you, especially unknown, someone having evil or ill intentions towards you that you had you had no sometimes you might have knowledge of, but so when you were a child, you were told, for example, don't eat at someone's house, don't pick up a coin, you find on the ground, don't, do 1, 2, 3, watch out for people who give you an evil eye. Sometimes don't interact with certain people, because we knew that human beings have power, and somebody's power for evil is really strong. It's much, sometimes even stronger than someone's will for good. So you should always almost be afraid of other people because of the ill that they can do to you. And I think that aspect of a fear of other human beings is not so much entrenched in the West. People don't think that, people laugh off curses and bad luck and things like that, and then someone saying, people don't think that other people actually have power over them. They believe in systems and structures and things like that, but people have a very low opinion of other people's power over them, unless it's a physical thing. Yeah, but in the spiritual aspect of it, not so much. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Thank you for that, Ted. I want to say this too. I know there's the NBA playoffs going on, and I know that in the UK they doing that bullshit with the monarchy. So I guess people are somewhere tied between those things. But I'd like to say, this the conversation we had tonight and every week actually, but tonight included, the conversation so far has been excellent. Um, I think more people should be witness to it, should be interacting with it. So if you guys can do me a favor, bring someone along, invite someone new who you know is down. I know a lot of y'all be in these different YouTube streets. Big up the show and say, hey, you come and hang with us on a Saturday night so we could get these numbers up a bit, right? Let me go to shoot the restart number 5 for time's sake.